Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Dawn Melanie. I welcome you to this week's episode of Managing Self. Today I'll tell you about a critical factor that I've learned, that I've determined pretty critical in helping me successfully manage my multiple sclerosis for the past 20 years. And this is related to my other factors that I've mentioned in the past regarding fitness and food and family and fun and health and all that good stuff. But this factor is simply telling people to shut up. Some people talk too damn much. Worse, those same said individuals always have to share their opinion, regardless if it's asked for or not. I could say it's to these individuals that I direct my statement, don't talk to me. But I can't be that restrictive. I believe everyone has a right to be included when I say, don't talk to me, period. But I understand that's somewhat ridiculous, especially for me, because the longest I've been like the poster child of inclusivity. More than once I've been told, you don't meet a stranger. And to that, I agree. It's very true. I don't meet a stranger. And I've been known to have quite the gift of gab also. So to everyone listening, whether I may meet you in the future in person, or if we simply just cross paths cyberspace or some other media forum, do not talk to me. I mean that, do not talk to me. Now, if you have ever met me, you know that I'm quite a talker. And the stern request isn't reflective of any hearing complications that I'm having, like, don't talk to me, it's going to make ringing in my ears or anything like that. But as I have had my share of hearing complications, but my request to don't talk to me isn't related to any of those. I have lost my hearing on at least three separate occasions. But lately, my hearing has been, I'd say, exemplary. And as my mama says, you could hear a rat pee on cotton. And she's probably right. But I hope I never find out if that's true or not. I don't want to know. I look back to the fall of 2003 when I was forced to get my first walking cane because of my hearing, and it was actually substantially compromised. It was my right ear. Yeah, it was my right ear. And I remember not only experiencing like this muffled effect, I couldn't hear anything very, I don't know, I'd say at least 75 to 85% of my hearing was, I couldn't hear anything. But also, in addition to the auditory loss, my balance was off. Really off. And I remember this was, like I said, September 2003, and a couple of my coworkers, my new coworkers, wrongfully accused me of having too much to drink. We were visiting a winery the night before, and they thought I had too much to drink, so they're like, "Oh, you had too much to drink last night." Anyway, it was a work event for new hires, orientation, I believe. And I'll never forget, it was in Pleasantville, California. I had just accepted a new job, and of course with the new job comes along new stress. And like I said, that was inevitable. New job, new stress, and I guess it was definitely inevitable. What followed from that was what I believe led to my first flare-up was this loss of my hearing. Hearing loss, shall I say. This was, I guess it was 4.5 years after my diagnosis, which was in March 1999. So about 4.5 years later, I had my very first flare-up. Like I said, it was my hearing loss, and my balance and things like that were compromised. And, this was like my first experience of people making wrong accusations, just telling me what they think and not asking questions. Okay, so although the booze, I'll say the booze or the wine, was free, and freely drinking of it wasn't shunned upon by any means, I didn't have any. Not that I was trying to be unsociable, or nor did I think I was better than anyone by not partaking in the quote unquote spirits. I mean, yeah, it was. The events that actually occurred that night were all centered around the local winery. But like I said, I chose not to drink any wine that night. And some people said, "Well, why? It was free." And everybody knows I like free food and things like that. But alcohol, it's not the same for me because I'm all about free food, free pizza. I'm all over it. But as far as alcohol, I'm a lightweight, and I know that I'm a lightweight. I have a very, very low tolerance for alcohol, and to this day, I literally can get a pretty pleasant buzz from just a quarter glass of wine. So, although some may equate this behavior with me being cheap date, that again, that isn't even the whole picture. Um, you know, if these same assuming folks again will simply ask, like I said, I'll happily tell and explain further. If they need more corroborating evidence, I'll be happy to point them in the direction of someone who knows me on a very personal level. Probably best one could be my husband, and it's funny because I always joke with him. I was like, honey, you understood from our very first date, that she's not drinking alcohol. She's drinking water, but this girl can eat. She can eat her weight in food, especially pizza. So again, just because I don't drink alcohol, there's a reason why I don't. And like I said, this interpretation of me not drinking and that I had drank too much was, I think, I'll just use the word silly, or like I said, it was assuming, and it didn't have to. Well, it would have been cleared up if these, like I said, these said individuals would have just simply asked why I was, I say, staggering or somewhat stumbling. Now, it's understood, of course, looks can be deceiving. See, I wasn't drunk. I simply had, or shall I say, I simply have MS, multiple sclerosis. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. Unfortunately, that September 2003, my coworkers saw it. And to my dismay, I wasn't prepared to tell them why. Why what was happening was happening. My staggering, my clumsy stupor. I didn't even know what I was experiencing. I knew I was experiencing, but I didn't know why I was experiencing this. I now or later realized that I was experiencing the relapsing part of my relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. See, it wasn't, I'd say dormant, but it was actually, pardon me, I think I said that wrong. At the time I was experiencing my relapsing part of my relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. So I was experiencing symptoms, and even after I followed up with my doctors, and pardon me, I had subsequent MRIs revealing, unfortunately, new enhancing lesions or active lesions, which indicated MS activity. I did keep the information to myself. It was quite apparent that something had transpired when I did return to work, to the office, to my clients, with my first walking cane. Something had happened, and I know now clearly. Then I was just learning that what I was experiencing was a proprioception deficit. I'll say the foolishness of youth. I was 30 years old, and I was taking on the world, or so I thought. I was moving with the flow, with the ebbs and the flows. Good was never good enough for me, so I pushed myself to be the best that I can be. That was just how I did things. I guess it's how I still do things. But a couple weeks prior to that trip to California, I had actually just started that job, and probably about the same week or so, I actually had just won my first of several first place and overall titles at a figure competition, or bodybuilding competition with heels. I was a girl with MS, and I was said shh, like shh. I didn't. No one asked, and believe you me, I didn't tell anybody. They didn't have to know that. All they know that I was a competitor, a viable competitor, and in the workplace, if no one asked about my MS and my medical condition, I didn't volunteer to tell. Until my next job, one of my last positions before my exit of corporate America, I recall looking at my growing stack of MRI reports and summing up the findings, how many new lesions, how many were active, how many were no longer detectable. I was thinking, I was like, to me it seemed like there was a direct correlation between the number of lesions, new or with new or increased stress in my life. So again, a correlation between the number of lesions, new ones, that is, and any increased stress that I was experiencing. Not just necessarily stressful situations, but added responsibilities and things like that. It seems like the more stress I had, the more lesions, especially active lesions, that I seem to have. New job, moving, across town. I was looking at like I said, looking at the correlation, and I figured something different, and that I would try something different. So I got to try something different. This is ridiculous. So I figured I'd be my own guinea pig, sort of speak. I'd experiment on me. When I started, I started as the last company that I was at, one of the last companies that I worked at, I started as a contractor before accepting a full-time position with a firm, and I had at the time I still hadn't started my new plan. I was still in the don't ask, don't tell mode. Again, I wouldn't volunteer any medical information until the curveballs were coming my way, and I knew I couldn't dodge them. Again, proprioception problem, so not very good at dodging much of anything physically. Anyway, when asked, gosh, it was like a last minute. I'll never forget, the director asked me at the last minute, could I travel to Germany for some work to be done? Like literally, can you go to Germany this weekend? I was like, okay, I got to speak up now. I knew what my self-injection schedule was. I knew the days of the week that I took my DMDs, disease-modifying drugs, and I knew the potential side effects it had on me. I also knew I knew what I had to do, or what I was doing, to mitigate the potential adverse effects that I had, or would experience. What I would do is basically I rested the night of that I took the shot, and the morning after. So before I agreed to traveling 14 or so hours on an international flight, going through customs with my needles and other medical stuff, I guess the biggest risk for me was the risk of not feeling 100%. I don't want to be at a client or doing work for a client that I don't want to be responsible for being not 100% for a client that was paying pretty much they were paying top-notch prices for my services. So I was like, okay, it's not fair to not be 100%. So I had to be honest, and I'll never forget, telling him, I said, John, we got to talk. I told him about my medical situation. I have relapsed remitting multiple sclerosis, and although it was currently remitting, I have to take precautions to keep it that way. He explained what he needed, and we discussed and agreed upon a course of action. So he told me his expectations, and I told him mine. And before this, he had no idea absolutely no idea of my medical situation. And, that's fine. That was before. But the after is the most important part, because after we discussed it, we developed a business rapport that literally soared to new heights. Not only did I, subsequently travel to Germany that time and several times after, but also to California on a regular basis. And, I was also afforded the privilege to pretty much leave my corporate apartment and travel home to the Dallas area whenever I needed to for any medical appointments that I had. Being being upfront allowed me to openly state, hey, I won't be in the office on Tuesday, but I'll be on the call if needed. I'm like, hey, I have an eye appointment. It was. I still think it's pretty rewarding, pretty satisfying that the honesty that I had was respectfully received by the director and by the other people in the company. So honesty was, like I said, that was great. I wasn't holding it all in. I was able to talk and discuss things like that, And again, I was elated that I had absolute flex time. And when I finished with that engagement, I was fortunate enough to continue to have this freedom to be a responsible adult without being micromanaged. I was back home, and I still had the competition bug, to get on stage and compete. So I managed me. I managed going to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning, going home to shower, getting ready to go to the client before 9 o'clock, and eating the 7 meals cooked earlier in the week. 7 meals that day. All in the plan to get back on stage and be a viable competitor. After about a 1.5 year hiatus. Anyway, so I did get on stage, and I did find myself in the preferred position in the winner's circle. And 3 months later, I remember went to I remember going to another client. It was like a Wednesday morning. I go in, and they noticed that I was getting darker. It was so funny. I went in like Wednesday morning to a client, and that evening I went to the tanning bed. I was working on my tan for the show, and later that morning, Thursday morning, I was at the airport headed to Chicago for a show. I stayed with a friend who lived in the hosting city, Chicago, and she knew about my MS. And she's the only one who knew why. It's funny, I don't forget. She's the only one who knew why I almost stepped on stage with, there I am with my competition heels on and the bikini, and I had my running gloves on my hands. And she's like, Dawn, I mean, it was so funny. I was so comfortable, I didn't realize that I had them on, but my hands were freezing, which they still are to this day. And oftentimes I wear gloves even in, it can be 100 plus degrees and my hands are cold. So, it was like I said, only one person knew exactly why I had the gloves on in the bikini. See, I did it again. I relapsed into relapsed into that don't ask, don't tell mentality. But at a show 3 years later, July 2008, wow, that's actually almost 10 years to the day. To right now, that is. 10 years ago, I was forced to let it be known. I remember saying several times, no, I was not drinking last night. No, I'm not drunk today. I was like almost like a robot responding to the assumptions that I was getting about my let's say my instability on stage as far as walking and things like that. I was having difficulties. My walking ability was quite compromised. Even standing, I couldn't even stand without. It was sad. I couldn't take very many steps. I couldn't even without stopping. So anyway, this was happening on stage literally July 2008, and my best friend, she broke down crying because she was disappointed with herself for not stopping me from going onto the stage in such a condition. But she's like, I hadn't realized, that the signs of your relapse with your multiple sclerosis. But I told her, neither did I. Undoubtedly, I take part of the blame, no doubt. Just like a smile, when you give someone a smile, it's very likely that you're going to receive 10 more smiles in response. If not 10 more smiles, you're going to receive a smile with the amplitude 10 times stronger than the one that you offered. To this day, I believe my openness and my honesty, it resulted in further discussions. Not just someone talking to me, making assumptions of what I was going through, but the openness led to discussions where we could talk about things together. Dialogue. We could engage in productive dialogue. I've never sought sympathy for me having MS. I do not. But I've learned how to well receive any empathy with deep sincerity. And I did go on to reveal this publicly. After that show, or at least I'd say a public apology to any and everyone that I may have reacted to with any contempt for false accusations, for just talking to me, for talking at me, never requesting the engagement of any meaningful discussion, just, a one-sided unilateral discussion. My apology and me opening up to everyone about everything relating to my MS has led to a still ever-growing number of relationships and connections that I've established and continue to establish to this day. It's even led to me being able to reach you listeners globally today. My introduction to cyberspace or social media was over 15 years ago today. I really spilled it. I really spilled the beans, so to speak. I'll never forget on, was it an interview with Miss Body Space herself, Dawn Melanie. Body Space. Yeah, it was an interview, pretty personal topics, but I revealed all. Questions that involved me, how I managed it all. My professional career, my competition life as a competitive bodybuilder, my married life, life with my parents, siblings, nephews, nieces, things like that. How I managed it all, like pretty much like what I'm doing today. The series is called Managing Self. So that I guess I've been talking about me managing myself for over 15 years now. I do remember the first of my weekly blogs that I would write. One was the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. Yep, my competition career, when it went south, thanks to multiple sclerosis. It was tongue-in-cheek, no doubt, but on a positive note, it revealed how I stayed afloat, and I didn't give up. So, but again, I was letting it be known that okay, I'm experiencing some challenges here, but I was a real person. I was open with my challenges, and let it be known how I overcame those said challenges. Let's see, another one I submitted was left, right, left. The cadence command, I guess, when you're marching or giving commands for a troop or something like that, that simple walking, left, right, left, that was a challenge for me. A challenge for me at times. And, it seemed like a joke, but it was an example of how challenging MS can be with basic life tasks, walking. My favorite blog was, let's see, All That Glitters. All That Glitters. Despite I'd say the abundance of sparkly rhinestones on the small bikinis that we wore, the shine didn't cover up my flaws, my imperfections. My uniqueness. Basically through each blog, I shared my viewpoint on of a personal challenge that I've overcome. Like I said, I opened up about me managing myself, and I was like, okay, that's it, game changer. I learned to talk freely about me and my MS. I guess I was hiding it or stifling it, but I was now handling it I was managing me, my MS, and I was handling being productive, talking about it and discussing it with others. Said the discussing the struggles and the victories, whether it be apparent or not. I'm sure each of you have heard it once, twice, or many times before. But you look so good. When I hear this, I simply say thanks. I express my gratitude, but I do go on to say it's a residual effect of, dedicated training and eating, a lifestyle. We all know that MS is a chronic illness, but I view my workout regimen and my eating habit as a chronic healthy lifestyle, and that's not a bad thing. So when asked, no, sternly stated, don't talk to me. I mean it. Don't talk to me. But then there's more to the story, of course. If you've heard any prior episodes, you've heard me say it depends. So if you have any gumption or balls to ask, I'll tell it. But do be prepared for the details. Today I challenge each of you listening to address any wrong assumptions ever presented to you about you and your MS or any other medical condition or just anything. Don't let people's ignorance be a damper to your mood. Instead, I want to say, let it be an opportunity. Look at it as an opportunity that you can be like this beacon of light shining on all of your blessings. Because you know what? I have MS, but I definitely feel blessed because of what I do have. The understanding of what comes along with that. Weeding out negative people and things like that in your life and embracing the positivity. So that's something that I look at as a positive with MS. So look at it as an opportunity to discuss with someone and share your point of view. Don't just let a negative attitude or wrong assumptions dampen your mood. This is Dawn Melanie again, and I thank you for listening, and I do hope you'll join me next week as we all take charge, as we jump in the driver's seat, and we manage ourselves. Remember, to be most effective of managing self, you have to be effective with self-love and not be afraid to talk with others. Not to, but talk with others. Be open to share your point of view and also be open to receive and to listen to other people's point of view. It's a two-way street. I can't stress enough. I encourage you to discuss with people and to hopefully engage in some productive dialogue. Lastly, I want to start a new hashtag here. Yeah, Dawn Melanie hashtag. Hashtag manage self. So if you guys are thinking about this and you maybe post a picture in ways that you are managing yourself and how you are interacting with others and getting different points of view, letting sharing with others what you're going through and maybe learning about theirs, go ahead and tag the picture with hashtag manage self. I'll be definitely posting some of my upcoming pictures with such. So again, this is Dawn Melanie, and have a great week. Thank you.